Oh man, first cast here. I forgot to turn my darn GoPro on. I got a fish on my ultralight. What do we got here? Holy smoke. I think that's a speckled trout. Ain't in Gunnersville no more, boys. It's on my little ultralight rod, little 2-inch Kitech. Wow. Guy I ran into coming down here said the fishing was tough. He only got a bite today, but we in business. Hey there, fishing friends. Welcome to Load the Boat with Zach. Today in this video, I'm gonna walk you through some concepts I learned fishing the Tennessee River and how it helped me to catch some fish in the saltwater creeks of Hilton Head, South Carolina. Now, don't be shy. Let me know what you think about this video down below and if you've had any similar experiences. All right, so I knew where I was going on vacation and knew I wouldn't have very much time to fish. So I picked out a bank spot that was close to where I was staying that looked like it would have some fish on it. What I found was a bank access that had a nice little point, a little bend in the creek, and I was sure I was gonna go and catch some fish around that point. And when I showed up, there were other anglers there that were struggling to catch fish. They said they had had a couple bites, but hadn't caught anything that day. So I fished around that point. There's 5 people at one time there fishing around that point, and you would think that there would be fish sitting around that point. There's water movement from the tide, and you'd think the fish would, if they liked the current, would be in that outside bend where that current was hitting the hardest, or they would sit in the current break on the side of the point. But I could see no one else was catching fish, and I wasn't catching fish. So instead of leaving the area, what I did is I scooted down a little bit. There's one thing that fishing pressure would do. I told you there was, I think, 5 people at one point there. Sometimes fishing pressure will move the fish out of the sweet spot. That's something that I learned while ledge fishing, that ledge fishing on Gunnersville can be a combat sport at times. In the summertime, you'll have people just stacked up shoulder to shoulder, and those fish don't like those baits rushing by them over and over again. You know, at a certain point, these fish are going to move. Now they might go to the sweet spot on the ledge, or they might move up to that point, you know, in the right situations to feed, but they're gonna go and move away from that pressure. They don't want a bait running by their head every couple of seconds there. So I slid down a little bit. I moved about 40 yards from the point, and it was just the creek had straightened out at this point. There was not any kind of real obvious break in the current where they could tuck out, but first cast in this spot that was just straight do nothing piece of bank, caught a fish. A couple casts later, caught another fish, and it was amazing how people started coming over trying to see what I was using, because I was catching fish when no one else was, just using my ultralight and this little 2-inch Kitech on a little 1/8 ounce Gamakatsu crappie head. I caught a bunch of speckled trout. I was having a good old time there, and the reason I was catching them was the fishing pressure had repositioned the fish down away from the best spot in the area. So next time you pull up to a spot that you think the fish should be, and you don't catch fish right away, don't just pull your trolling motor up and go on to the next spot. Go and fish a little bit down from where you think the best spot would be. Sometimes they'll move a little deeper. Sometimes they'll move up into cover. The fish will reposition if you're fishing more of a community hole spot, and that fishing pressure, you just got to figure out what that pressure did to the fish. If they went shallow and in thick cover, if they pulled out to the deeper water, or if they slid, you know, up or down away from the spot. So just because you're not catching fish in the best spot where you think the fish should be, fish around a little bit, take a couple minutes, and it can definitely pay off. Now the second concept that helped me catch some fish was because of all of the fishing pressure. Another thing that I did that I think helped me catch some fish was downsizing to that little 2-inch Kitech I was just throwing on my little ultralight rod. That little bait was important. I tried. I had some, since I was catching them on that little swim bait. I tried throwing, a 2.8 Kitech or 3.3. I even tried the 275 Swammer, another swim bait that I like, and none of those were getting bit. I was only getting bit on this little bait. And one of the reasons I think that little bait was working was one, there's a lot of fishing pressure, and a lot of those guys are throwing the same things, the same size baits. They're throwing 3 to 4 inch lures, some DOAs, they call them, look like plastic shrimp, and they're using 3 to 4 inch gulp shrimp and gulp minnows. And having that smaller presentation, sometimes when you have a lot of fishing pressure, going extreme on your sizes, going extremely small like I did, or going extremely big, using an extremely natural color or an extremely loud color, playing the extremes in pressured situations will usually benefit you. So you don't have to go downsize if you don't like throwing little tiny baits. Throw a really big bait. But going to the extreme one way or another, speed even, really soaking your bait or really burning your bait, and these kind of pressured situations can help put some more fish in your boat. And another reason this little tiny thing was working, I had got snagged up, and I had to to get down close to them little oyster shells and stuff down there to try to get it free. And when I did, I noticed I spooked some shrimp out, and those shrimp were tiny. They weren't 3 or 4 inches long like some of these lures these other guys were using. They were tiny, young of the year shrimp, I guess. And even though this doesn't look like a shrimp, this was a lot closer to the size of what those fish were eating than what everyone else was throwing. It may not look the exact same, but because the size was right and I was throwing it in the area that the fish had moved to, that also contributed to my fishing success. Alright, so don't just fish the juice. Play with the extremes in your bait sizes in pressured situations, and you too can load the boat. Alright, this video has been brought to you by Taylor at Rocket City Mobile IV. If you're in the Scottsboro, Huntsville area, feel like you need some IV fluids, you're dehydrated, might want to try the NAD that everyone is talking about, give them a call, ask for Taylor, and she will hook you up.